What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. How we doing today, Casino?
Woo! Doing good.
That is your name.
Doing good. That is my name. Yeah, that's my only name. That was my birth name.
So
that's what happens.
We missed Friday's show because Casino is going through a pregnancy thing with his wife. I, with my wife and child, had to take my son to the doctors. He had hand, mouth, and foot disease. So there was a big thing.
My question is, how does he get the hand and the foot in the mouth at the same time?
Well, it's also when you Google it and it's like, how do you get this? The causes of it are like some little gross kid who has it stuck his boogers or shit somewhere and or spit somewhere and your kid touched it. Like, that's basically what Google says. So the only way this is transmitted is from a gross little fuckhead being a gross little fuckhead and now infecting my dear sweet child.
That's how mono's transmitted, is through saliva. I mean, I got mono from my best friend.
Whoa. You're not supposed to say that on the air, that I gave you mono. No. It's
well,
people
you're not
have
my best
said,
friend. Whoa.
I was before I gave you mono. But people have said we're the mono of sports podcast as a compliment.
Just don't share drinks with don't share drink cans with your best friend in high school. That's what I learned.
Yeah, it is gross how everything is just transferred through spit, but it's like not just through making out. It's like drinks, it's sneezes,
forks and spoons
things.
But I know 100% that's how I ended up getting mono that time. Was we would always drink the same sodas. It was always like Mug root beer or Minute Maid lemonade. And yeah, we were just like, which one's yours? I don't know. And we just grab whichever one. We basically just opened up 2 cans of drinks and we drank them till they were gone.
Yeah. And then to celebrate, you guys made out afterwards. And then
no, that's actually how we got mono. Yeah.
Yeah. But so today, because of the mono situation and the hand, mouth, and foot disease situation and the children messing up this podcast schedule, how dare they? But our plans got pushed back. So today we're going to be talking about the AFC North. And then on Friday, we're going to do a double episode where we'll talk both the NFC West and AFC West. But before we get into that, Casino, let's talk about really the only kind of topical news since the last time we recorded, which is, hey, remember 2 or 3 episodes ago where the Colts owner was like, I'll be fucking dead before we ever trade Jonathan Taylor from this Colts team. And then it took like a week and a half and he's just like, oh yeah, he can search for a trade.
Yeah, we give him permission. He can search. He can leave if he wants. It's like, and that's why you never take these billionaire owners' words or just like employers, just anything in general. You don't take their word for it, man. You're just like, yeah, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, no. He was out of there. We all know he was out of there because they don't. Why would you want somebody on your team that doesn't want to be on your team?
Yeah. Well, and that's also why the organizations like kind of do that thing where they just let players basically have control of where they go or if they want to play on the team. Because like we said I believe it was last episode when we were talking about who are we talking about that request? Oh, we were talking about James Harden, where he requested a trade. And it's literally like you just pay somebody a shitload of money to sit on your bench, and then he's a cancer probably in the locker room, because why would a guy who doesn't want to be there? And I'm not just talking about James Harden. I'm just talking about any player sitting on the bench who's like holding out, who has clearly said like, I don't want to be on this team. Why would you want that guy in the locker room of people who presumably want to be on the team? Right. And then it's either that where they're a distraction, you lose them when their contract ends, and then you gain nothing, or you try to get literally anything and trade them for assets. I don't know. Like, I mean, running backs are a really low value position, as we've talked about this whole
And again, I
offseason.
don't understand why, man, but whatever.
Yeah, especially, well, Jonathan Taylor, he's only 24 and he's already probably a top 3 to 5 back in
Yeah,
the
I would say
league.
top 5. You can't argue a top 5. I mean, if you want to argue top 3, sure, but I mean, he's solidified top 5, top 6 easily in
Yeah.
the league. So
So where do you see, or where do you see either him going, or where do you think the best fit for him would be? Because I mean, you look at what we've seen for running back trade market, I really feel like you can get Jonathan Taylor for like a second and fourth round pick. Like, I mean, I don't think you would have to give up much to get him.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like the market's gonna be a little bit tougher for him because he's gonna want more. Um, I don't know. I think again, going back to that toughest division in football, the AFC East this year, I think the Dolphins have a good shot of wanting to get him. Not knowing if they're going to get him, but I, I think the Dolphins is a good landing spot for him. Maybe even the Tampa Bay because they moved off Leonard Fournette, and I don't know I don't know how White's going to do. I don't know how Edmonds is going to do. Edmonds, yeah,
Yeah.
Edmonds is going to do. They could use a superstar down there. I mean, but it's like really again in that situation, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to really want to go to a team that's not going to fare well this year. But Miami, they could have a good year, and if you want to be in Miami's not a guarantee to make the playoffs, but you're at least going to be in a good situation to be in a good division, a tough division. You're going up against Bill Belichick's top 4 defense this year is where they're ranking. Then you go against the Bills, who I still probably have winning this division, and then the Jets are just overloaded this year. So, I mean, do you want the competition on a good Miami team? They're just missing. They're missing not too much, and if Tua stays in there, that's a good team. I think Tua is a good, capable quarterback, but he's got to be he's injury prone. But if he stays in there, he's a fine quarterback. So, what are your thoughts on like Dallas or Carolina as because those would be a couple other thoughts that I was thinking. Dallas just getting moving off of Zeke. They do have Pollard, but we talked about them the other day. They don't really have much after Pollard. They have the rookie. I forget his name.
It's Vaughn. Have you seen some of I'll tell you what, I don't like the Cowboys and I don't like them getting good players, but have you seen any of the highlights of the tiny little Vaughn kid in the
No,
preseason games?
Is that the backup running back for Pollard now?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
he
okay.
literally
So
looks like
I have it. So it sounds like they're pretty good then. But if he
Yeah.
wasn't showing up, that would have been a spot that I could see. Just imagine that you
That's a
get
good
Jonathan
pick.
Taylor and
Yeah.
Pollard like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, especially when Dallas's key to success over the years has kind of been riding Zeke, right? To like set up the pass when other teams, because there's an insane stat where it's like when Dak Prescott throws like 30 more passes or something like that, his winning percentage like drops off a fucking cliff. So it was like there was the chart I saw where it was like when a running back on the Cowboy or when Zeke got 20 or more carries, they won like 80% of their games. When he had less than 20 carries mixed with Dak Prescott throwing like over 25 passes or something like that, they won 20% of their games. It was some crazy swing like that. So, but the Vaughn kid looks really good. He looks like a Boston Scott or like a Darren Sproles, like the really little guy who just has that low center of gravity that nobody can get a fucking hit on. So he worries me as an Eagles fan, but Dallas was a good call. I think I like the Panthers one too, but I think I can't take credit for this because I saw this on a YouTube clip. Oh, sorry, I dropped my pen. I saw this on a YouTube clip and I was like, that would actually make sense. And I think it would be a good fit. What do you think of him going to the Bears? So then it would be Fields would now have Jonathan Taylor, and then he obviously has DJ Moore, and you could have like literally the number one rushing offense in the league.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. I like that idea. I'm not against that. It kind of goes on to the situation of just helping out your quarterback in, that position. And so I was thinking, for me, possibly the Panthers, you get that young quarterback in, you want to take some pressure off of him. But also Justin Fields, it takes some pressure off of him because he's not going to have to run the football. We've talked about how running backs aren't really much desire in this league right now. And I don't understand why, because a lot of these teams have really good mobile quarterbacks, but when it comes to playoff time or towards the end of the season, they're starting to slow down. Why not get a good running back that can do the bulk of the work, or like you guys can trade off, and by come the end of the season, you either have a really good running back or your quarterback's still fresh enough to make plays. And so going to a team like the Bears with Justin Fields makes a lot of sense as well. I don't know their cap situation. All these teams, I don't really know all their cap situation. I'm not. Yeah. I don't break down the numbers like most. But I can see where they would fit. In my opinion, best with personnel. That's how I look at it. But I do like the Bears. That sounds like an interesting one.
Even staying in the NFC North, like what if he just went to the Vikings, right? They lost Dalvin Cook. Like they have I believe it's Matheson now, but if they just replace Dalvin Cook with a younger, maybe at this current moment, better Dalvin Cook, like they were still a 13-4 team last year. Like I think they've found a replacement for Thielen. So if they found a replacement for Cook, like you got a better defensive coordinator, maybe now all of a sudden, you're even better than you were last year, because 13-4, we talked about it last episode where that was kind of like a fraudulent record to have for that team specifically. But all right, Casino, you ready to dive into the AFC North?
As best I can. I think this is going to be a fun one.
I do as well. And you said AFC East. What do you think this year will be the tougher division in football? AFC East or AFC North?
AFC East. AFC East.
Really? I think it would be the North.
No, you have the consistency with the Steelers and the Ravens. I like them a lot. Browns or whatever. Bengals, we obviously have a high pick to make the Super Bowl. But I don't know, man. I still, because the Ravens and the Steelers, they have been good for all these years, but so has Miami. So, the Jets last year were pretty good, and the Patriots were pretty good. That you had three teams in the hunt. Last year, you just really had, the Browns were right there too, actually. I don't know. I still think AFC East. AFC East. Maybe that's just because we're talking about it. My team's in that division. Rodgers is now in that division. The Madden face of Madden is in that division. Like, we'll see.
Also, speaking of Madden, I've been playing the new one nonstop since it came out.
And it's the same exact thing as all the others.
Yes, and it's been a real shit show this year. EA Sports, get your fucking shit together. All the pre-order bonuses for everyone, all the rewards for doing challenges, everything's fucked up. Everything's delayed. Like, when you eventually get them, they're already like out of date things. It's just a giant clusterfuck. So fuck you, EA Sports. NFL, fuck you for giving them the exclusive right to make football games, because they can't do it. It's the same. And that's why it's like the worst. Like Madden is the worst because there's literally no competition. So they literally have to do nothing because nobody else can make a fucking football game. And surprise, when there's no competition, the product you're making is dog shit because you're competing against nobody. So fuck you, Madden. Fuck you, NFL. Fuck you, EA Sports. You guys are garbage for this little fucking agreement you made. That's a side note. But I will say, I think
Whoa.
the AFC. I
Hot
do.
take. Hot
Thank
take.
you.
You
Yeah.
good.
Hot take that Madden is bad and has been bad for a decade at this point. I think that's like just common knowledge now. But they make so fucking much money from it because of their stupid like YouTube presence where like people on there will be like, because there's this mode. When's the last time you played Madden Casino?
I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, because it's all the same, and I don't buy it because you tell me, oh, it's the same game, and I'm like, oh, I'm already tired of the game that I played 8 years ago.
Yeah. So they literally created this mode called Ultimate Team where you build your team and they release like new players, and each player, like, you know, as the season progresses, gets better and better. You can buy different cards, and it's like the bullshit every game does now where it's like pay to win and like all that kind of shit, right? But
How
now
all games are now.
Yes, but what they do is because you get better players from packs now on YouTube. I mean, you can literally look up Google Madden 24 right now. If there is not in the first 5 videos somebody like with a screenshot or a description in their video that says, I just spent $1,000 opening packs, and it's just like every fucking YouTube video about this fucking stupid video game is like, I spent $1,000. I spent $500. And it's like, I get it's your job. Why the fuck are you giving EA Sports $1,000 on a $60 video game that's been the same 8 years ago as it is today? Absolute insanity. If I ever give EA Sports more money than just me buying the game, I want you to shoot me in the head live on this podcast. Like, just disgusting.
I don't want to drive to your house.
That's true. I'll do it myself, but I'll do the thing where it looks like your hand is holding it over here. Yeah. It'll work. But
it's like this.
But then I'll really be over here. We can make it work. But I will need somebody to stop the recording because it's on my. We'll work it out.
Just get your get your son in there. Just have him hit stop after you do it.
But now, Casino, that all that has been hashed out, and there's a nice little Madden rant for you. Because Madden literally just came out on Friday, already dog shit. Let's talk about the first team in the AFC North. Let's get all the masseuse jokes out of the way and talk about the Browns, Casino. Last year, shockingly, this whole division, I was shocked at how competitive it was. I mean, we knew the Bengals and Ravens would be good, but even the Steelers and Browns, how the fuck were the Browns 7-10 last year?
And they were very close to being a playoff team because they literally missed. Like, we watched it, like with, you know, my former quarterback Jacoby Brissett, and then you had a couple other guys where it was literally down to the last like 2 minutes and they blew the game.
Yeah.
Like, this team was good. This is going to be a fun year, fun division.
But who is not good, either as a person or seemingly as a player anymore, is the masseuse master, or I guess masturbator. That is Deshaun Watson. Last year, he threw for 58% completion percentage, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he was suspended for the first 8 games.
Something like that.
I believe it
came down to 8
games.
I think.
So then in the 7 remaining games, he threw 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions with a below 60%.
Yeah, with 1,100 yards total.
So my first question before we get into the Browns this season, outside of Deshaun Watson, do you think he has a bounce back season now that he's had a year under his belt with the Browns, or do you think this is just who he is now?
That's just who he is now. I know. I don't understand why there's always been such a big hype about him. It's the same thing kind of like with the Odell Beckham thing. It's like, okay, he had maybe a few good plays like in one season, and now it's just like since he hasn't been playing, everybody's like, "Ooh, he's still that great player. He's still that great player." No, he's not. He's not. We talked about it. He didn't play for what, a couple years, and he came out and he showed that he hadn't played in a couple years. He looks awful. And
Yeah.
you should have been able to keep up to a high standard. Like, I understand in-game play is different than just practicing a lot. However, you just looked tired. You looked flat. It looked like you weren't in shape. Your what am I blanking on it? Your conditioning, there we go, was just out of it. He's done. Like, he's done. I can't wait to watch him have another dumpster fire this year and then realize, oh, we were much better off without having him as our starting quarterback.
Yeah. I think, well, also it's when you look at the Browns stats, their defense and offense last year were both pretty abysmal. The really only good aspect of their team last year was they were sixth in the league in rushing offense.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Which even
Nick
in,
Chubb was amazing.
yeah,
Nick Chubb ran for over 1,500 yards. He had 12 touchdowns. I mean,
well,
it
and
was
that's
great.
since the Browns have kind of been in like this Baker Mayfield era, like that was always their identity, right? They had Nick Chubb, they had Kareem Hunt, they were like this two-headed monster that would just run all over you. The quarterback was kind of like manage the game, and then they had a surprisingly efficient defense. And now it's weird to be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna invest all this money in a quarterback who right now at this moment is a worse quarterback than Baker Mayfield. And now the Browns are just right back to being not the laughing stock of the league. I don't think anyone's laughing at them anymore. I think it's more, well, it's obviously disgust, right? Because the Deshaun Watson thing, I love when you see when shit like that happens online, and then it's just like, we gotta, innocent until proven guilty. And then it's like, all right, one or two masseuses, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. When there's like 57, you're like, all right, like he probably did something fucked up, and now we need to acknowledge that. Like, I just hate this. Like, whoa, let's not judge him till all the facts get out, as like every masseuse. And then even athletes were like, I literally find one masseuse who like knows what they're doing, and then you just stick with that masseuse because you don't want to fuck up like
Yeah,
the
why
procedure
wouldn't
or
you? Like,
whatever. Yeah.
100%. Like, if I've had one massage in my life and it was weird. It was just weird. I mean, it was
Well, it's
awesome.
a
It felt
weird
great.
situation.
It is
Like,
weird. I mean, and the person that did mine was a gentleman, and like, I did feel relaxed after I left. Like, my muscles were looser. Like, it felt weird in the moment, but it felt amazing. But again, like, if you're gonna like, I've been having the same person cut my hair since I was 2 years old. I can trust this person. Like, I have a connection with this person, and I'm not gonna go around and get my hair done by a billion other people. Like, when you find somebody
yeah.
that is good at their job and something that say a masseuse and as a professional athlete, hair for me, like, look, again, I always go again with connections to the Patriots, but Tom Brady, he found that personal trainer dude, and he's stuck with them, and they've had a great career together. Like, when you find somebody, you find somebody. He's just going around banging somebody. Why would, if you way
Not
that you
even
go through, like,
banging,
I know,
attempting to, and they're like, what
yeah,
the fuck are you
you go
doing?
through 70 masseuses, and you don't find one that's actually like, you're like, oh man, you really know how to work out that kink in my neck. I'm gonna stick with you. Like, no, it's bullshit. You're just
Yeah.
there trying to pull your dick out in front of them.
Well, it's also the thing where like it has to be awkward for them and for him, much like your masseuse, where the thing that makes it awkward is the boner. right? Like you had one and you were like, oh my God, this guy wants to do the happy ending. I can't turn it down.
The more awkward thing though was the boner in my face from him. Like that was that was the most awkward part, actually.
And I don't know if you've ever tried to 69 in a masseuse table, but it's just not built for that. It's not built for that.
Well, I mean, he did a pretty good job. He was pretty limber, so.
And that's how you got mono. No.
My cover's blown.
And obviously not making fun of the serious situation with Watson, but I feel like you have to make fun of Watson for being such a fucking creep, and now everybody just has to be like, but he's a good football player.
Yeah,
and you're just like,
it's that, like, it's just so egregious. It's laughable. Like, how is he still able to like be in the league? And like I don't understand this. Like he got 8 games, you know, for this bullshit. Obviously, he had his whole thing where he wasn't playing, and then you have, you know, gambling on, we've talked about it again, gambling not even on your team, and you're out for an entire season, but you know,
dude, gambling like $1,000,
but exposing yourself to 70 women or whatever it is. Like, come on, man.
And then also not only that, but then coming back and everybody being like, okay, like he served his time, now he comes back and does what he loves and he's great at, and then he comes back and he's just absolute dog shit. So it's this weird thing of like, now even the people who are being like, let's put all the other stuff to the side and defend him just as a player. Now that's like
saying, you know, a pedophile gets caught, you know, fucking Dateline NBC status, you know, gets caught and goes to prison for, you know, 10 years. They come back and it's like, well, he served his time. Yes, he was a pedophile, but you know what? It's okay. He served his time. I'm going to let my underage daughter go and get lunch with him. Like, no, it's like, fuck off. Like, dude, he's still a pedophile. Like,
well, it's also like, as an athlete, I'm sure you have to get massages because you always hear NFL players being like, as the season progressed, you're just like fucking sore and you can barely walk and move. Yeah. And now it's just like, this guy, we're just supposed to be like, okay, now the Cleveland Browns have it under control. And then it's like, why? The Texans obviously thought they had it under control. Like, it's just, I don't know. But let's move off Deshaun Watson and talk about the other aspects of the Browns. So as we just said, they finished 7-10 last season. This season, they have the 16th hardest strength of schedule. They also have the new defensive coordinator, which is the former Eagles defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl, Jim Schwartz, which the Eagles and Browns did play a preseason game, but this year, and I think the NFL might eventually move to just having joint practices, because that sounds like joint practices are where they had, like, for this instance, they had the Eagles and Browns playing against each other. Everybody's in like pads, but you're not really like tackling the quarterback, but it's all starters, right? So all starters are playing, and it's kind of like a simulated game format. And then when you see the preseason games, it's like third and fourth stringers who will probably never see the field in like a regular season game. And it kind of just feels like they're going through the motions, but you hear all this shit coming out of training camp. And what you heard, especially because I'm an Eagles fan and I've been following all this stuff when it relates to the Eagles, what you heard coming out of that joint practice with the Eagles is kind of what you would expect from a Jim Schwartz defense, especially when he was with the Eagles. You get all your pressure up front on the defensive line, right? So the Browns obviously have Myles Garrett, who's in contention for best defensive lineman in the league. Right. He was wreaking havoc against the Eagles offense until they put in their offensive line, and then it was mitigated a little. But then you combine that with last year, the against the pass, the Browns were 5th in the league. So they have one of the best pass defenses in the league because they have Denzel Ward and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they have the 2 really good corners and then that great fucking safety Delwit or something like that. But yeah, they have a great back end. They have a defensive line now, I think even better because Jim Schwartz, that's kind of like his specialty, getting pressure up front to kind
Were
of
you
keep
thinking?
pressure on the back end.
Was it Zadarius Smith, the DE?
No, I think I'll find it out. But then they
Anyway,
also, for safety from the Eagles, they added McLeod. So they have up their pass defense in getting Schwartz. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, even though when he was with the Eagles, he drove me fucking crazy. But I think he'll definitely be an improvement for the Browns. I think the Browns defense is really built to Schwartz's strength in terms of, again, what he did with the Eagles, where you have strong up front, puts pressure, gives the DBs kind of like, my issue was the Eagles didn't have good cornerbacks when he was there, and it was still like one-on-one man coverage. And that's why, every cornerback in the Eagles would just be fucking burnt toast by the end of games. But yeah. The rest of the defense, however, they were 20th last year in total defense, 25th against the run, and then 20th in league in scoring. And as I said, 5th against the pass. So I think potentially the Browns could be a top 10 defense this year with what I've been hearing from camp. Obviously, against the Eagles, apparently that defense is scary looking. And then with the pieces they've added, because obviously they added, oh God, I can't say that guy's name, but he was the edge rusher from Jacksonville. I'm going to butcher the fuck out of it right now. Ogbonia Okorokwo.
Okos, yeah. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
And then they added McLeod. And then the only ones they lost were Jadeveon Clowney, who is, I think we already talked about this on this podcast, one of my most hated NFL players ever, who I think is one of the most overrated ever.
Oh, yeah, he is. The only reason we've talked about, the only reason that he was such a hype, it was that video of him hitting the
Literally
dude
the
so hard
one
in
hit.
college and the helmet flew off. And
Yeah.
I mean, that
And
was a
then,
great hit. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've watched that over and over on like just college highlights, and I cringe every time I see it. But that's like
oh
the
yeah.
Odell Beckham situation. It's like you're known for that one play, and you really aren't the best. You're good, but you're not the best.
Well, I also think it kind of gives, because everybody is a fan of Clowney because of that one hit, right? The same reason why everybody's a fan of Odell, because of that one catch. But even Odell had a much more uh prolific career up to this point than Clowney did, because I mean, you look at Clowney the past couple years, from 2014 to 2018 he was with Houston. Then since then he's been with Seattle, Tennessee, Cleveland for 2 years, and now he's a free agent again. And I believe he just signed with the Ravens, or there were talks of him signing with the Ravens. So in the past 5 seasons, he's played for 4 different teams. Like, again, I just think he's one of the most overrated NFL players ever. But so only on this Cincinnati, for this Cleveland Browns, I mean, only losing Hunt, Clowney, and then a defensive tackle. Like, all you've done is add pieces. You added a better defensive coordinator to already a pretty good pass offense. Obviously, the rush defense, I think, will also get better with the schemes that Jim Schwartz is going to put in there. So I really think the Cleveland Browns, it comes down to, can Watson be even what he was in his like rookie season, where he's putting up 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and then like 65% completion percentage, and then kind of just let Nick Chubb run all over. But I really don't trust. I think the Browns finished last in this division just because I don't trust their offense literally at all.
I mean, yeah, Nick Chubb is the only thing. Oh, sorry. I thought you said I was muted. Nick Chubb's the only thing, dude. I just read this stat about him as you were going on your thing, which is absolutely amazing. Oh, go back to it. Come on now. Of course it goes away here. Oh yeah. Nick Chubb. This is a great. Nick Chubb apparently is the first player in NFL history to have at least 5 yards per rush in 5 straight seasons, Like that's his average, and he's done it in the first 5 years of his career. With the last player prior to Chubb with even 6,000 rushing yards and at least 5 yards per carry across his first 5 NFL seasons was Jim Brown. Like,
jeez,
like Chubb is their offense. Chubb is their offense.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is their defense. I mean, Amari Cooper, he's whatever. Like coming in that, like we'll see how he does, but this year, but whatever.
Yeah. And then also we forgot to mention they added Zadarius Smith, the edge defender from
I just mentioned him. That's
sorry.
what I thought you were talking about was going to have a good year this year.
Yeah.
And he's great. Like he was past multiple years. Like he's been rolling with, I had it pulled up here. I'll pull it back up. For his career last year, he had 10 sacks, and then in 2020 he had 12 and a half. 19 was 13 and a half. Like the dude's a good player. Like the dude is legit. I think he's gonna have a better. They're gonna be better, but I just like the well-oiled ships of the two other organizations, and then obviously you have Bengals that are just better than everybody in this division.
Yeah. So are we in agreement that Browns again finish fourth?
I think they finished fourth, but I think it's going to be pretty close between the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think these are going to be tough games for those two teams to play against Cleveland, but we'll see.
I don't know. I feel like they finished fourth, but would I be shocked if they finished third? No, because there's a team in this division that has to finish fourth. But again, it could be like we were talking about with the NFC North, where it's everybody could just be around 8, 9, 10 wins by the end of the season, just kind of fighting for position. But let's move on to, I think, potentially the most interesting team in this division, at least going into the season, and that is the Steelers, who last year finished 9-8, which is crazy because they did not feel like a 9-8 team, but they also kind of feel like the most 9-8 team you can think of, just like the Steelers. They're either great or they're 9-8 or 8-9. But this year they have the 8th easiest strength of schedule. Last year they were a top 10 defense total, 9th against the run, 10th in scoring, 20th in the pass, but it was really the issue was their offense. They were 26th in the league in total offense, 24th in passing, 16th in rushing, and 10th in scoring. So how much for this team? We know their defense is top 10. I don't think they lost anything or their defense has made any drastic changes where it's just going to fall off a cliff, right? So then it becomes, for the Steelers, do you believe in Kenny Pickett?
I don't. Zero. Zero faith in Kenny Pickett.
Why do you hate Kenny Pickett?
I just don't think he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, personally.
Is it because of his tiny hands? Is that what you're because remember when he was coming out of college?
That was such a funny story from the combine. The tiny hand stories from the combine was just the funniest thing. I mean, like, so his completion rating was last year 63 yards was 2,400, touchdowns 7, interceptions 9. Like, he just doesn't seem like he's gonna be the guy. Like, I just don't think he's gonna be the guy for this team. I just don't. He just doesn't seem like he's going to fit the bill. In the
preseason, he has been balling out, but I would be a hypocrite if I used that to say I believed in Kenny Pickett, because I think preseason, nothing matters. I don't think any of it means anything, and I put no stock in it.
Is he going to be improved?
For some reason, I like Kenny Pickett.
He's going to be improved from last year. He's going to be improved from last year, but like even the projections this year, for his touchdown to interception is they have it at 20 and 15. His passer rating they have up by like 8%. Yards they have up about another 1,000. So like they're not even high. Like, and this is CBS Sports. They're not even projecting him to like have a breakout season. I just don't think he's the guy. It worries me, but I still think that the Steelers are going to do okay because I trust in Mike Tomlin. I think he's a solid coach. Yes. I mean, there's a reason why Tomlin has not, had a losing season for as long as he did. Like, he's an amazing coach, a great organization. So I just don't think Pickett's the guy. And this would be the team. To me, the Steelers would be the team that could get trumped by the Browns. The Steelers are the team that I think that could end up the 4th. I still have the Browns at last, but I can see the Browns with that defense and with a poor play on Kenny Pickett's part being trumped over.
Oh, man. Casino. There's something in my mouth. Oh, sorry. My mouth was spicy because here's my spicy take. You ready for it, Casino? I think the Steelers make the playoff. This is Casino's walking away from the computer, either disgusted or amazed by my sweet acting and setup right there. But my pick as one of the surprise teams, and I guess it's not that surprising. They were 9-8 last season, but I think it's surprising in the conference they play. Casino, my spicy take is I think the Steelers make the playoffs, and here's why. I think Kenny Pickett is going to be good. I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think he's going to be amazing, but I think he's going to be maybe like a 28 touchdowns, 10 interception guy. He has Deontay Johnson, or is it Jordan? I'm sorry. No, it's Deontay Johnson. And then they got Allen Robinson from the Bears. They have Najee Harris running back. They have the Pat Freiermuth at tight end. I like all their offensive pieces, and this is Pittsburgh, so their third wide receiver is going to be some fucking rando they picked in the 6th round who all of a sudden in 3 years is like one of the best wide receivers in the league, because Pittsburgh always gets wide receivers nobody's ever heard of in the later rounds and turns them into Antonio Brown or turns them into great players who, when they go anywhere else, they were not as great as they were with the Steelers. So when it comes to the Steelers, they shored up their offensive line. They got Isaac Seumalo from my Eagles. They also got Nate Herwig from my Eagles. So they got two, and I think there's not a better team in the league with a better offensive line coach than the Eagles. So I trust when their offensive line players go to other teams. So you have a shored up offensive line. You have weapons all across the offense. You have Kenny Pickett, who by all accounts is a better pocket presence, who still is mobile during this preseason. And then again, the thing I put much more stock in is joint practices, where all the Steelers Twitter and insiders and beat reporters from Pittsburgh are like, Kenny Pickett's fucking on fire. So I really think the Steelers this year, especially with their low strength or their easy strength of schedule, and then they're going to come out, and this is also my spicy hot take for this team. I think, and I'm going to put this when we make our predictions for week 1, I think they beat the 49ers week 1. And that's one of the shocks of week 1 where everybody's like, oh my God, how did the Steelers beat the 49ers? And then they're just going to be good for the rest of the season.
We talk about on this show all the time how we don't really look into preseason. Dude, you're feeding into that so much.
I don't look into preseason. I said training. I said joint practices. Joint practices.
You can any quarterback can look damn good at a joint practice. Any quarterback can look good when true.
It's Deshaun Watson looked dog shit in joint practices.
Okay,
dog shit. He threw like 5 interceptions.
I'm saying there's a fucking it's Deshaun Watson, and he's got other things on his mind. But my point is you can make a quarterback look good during practices, man. But when it comes to actual gameplay and regular season, not even preseason game. You get actual gameplay. I need to see Kenny Pickett do it in game. I need to see him perform in game when you have all of the top guys on the defensive line coming at you. I need to see him perform. Also, you're really high on Najee Harris there.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not.
like the Steelers team. I really do.
I don't
I
dislike
believe
the
in them.
Steelers team. I just don't think Harris is. I mean, he's very consistent in the few years that he's been getting you just over 1,000 yards on rushing, and then he's got his a couple hundred in receiving yards. He's fine. He's very consistent the first 2 years, and I'm sure he'll probably be about the same this year. But I don't see him being a breakout star for this team, and I don't think Pickett's the guy. I don't think Pickett can get this team. I think they're going to be right there on the cusp again of making the playoffs. Because I trust in their coach,
Like Tomlin.
I trust in him a lot to at least come out as even. But I just don't trust this team being as good as you think they are.
The Steelers, and I forgot to do this with the Browns, so we'll go back to them before we go to the next team just for this. But over under this year for the Steelers, 8.5.
Man. I'm going to go 9 over.
9. I'm saying smash it. I think this is an 11-win team. Put it on the board when we go back at the end of the year and we make fun of the ridiculous predictions we had before the season. I think the Steelers team is an 11-win team. I just don't see any areas of the ball, this is my thing. I don't see, and I get what you're saying, but I don't see any way this Steelers team has gotten worse, right? I think on defense and offense, they've just gotten better. In the offseason, they didn't really lose any defensive pieces. They also added Patrick Peterson for the one cornerback they lost. So it was like
and you know what? That's all fine. That's all fine. But we did just say that the Browns got better on defense.
Yes.
And that's where they struggled. The Browns got better on defense. Bengals are going to be the exact same Bengals. And then the Ravens.
We don't know how hurt or how fucked up Joe Burrow is. And we'll obviously talk about that when we get to it. But
he's not having to run around and do anything crazy. As long as he can still throw the damn football, he's fine. He's a pocket quarterback, man.
True. And he's the gold standard for what you can do with tiny hands. Remember? Because that was also with Joe Burrow.
It's so funny you say that because it's so funny that you're saying that because I'm staring at a picture of Joe Burrow going like this and his hands are pretty fucking small.
Yeah. I feel like I got pretty good sized hands. We both have pretty good sized hands. That's why it feels so good when we hold them together. But I think so this is my final rationale on why the Steelers are going to be good. I think they beat the 49ers week 1 because there's always one game. I think your team potentially beats the Eagles week 1 because I feel like there's always week 1 fuckery where it's like, remember last year it was
if the Patriots are able to beat the Eagles week 1, I might legitimately piss myself with excitement.
Yeah. I don't think I'm even doing reverse jinx. I think it's a real possibility. I think I might pick the Patriots week 1 against the Eagles, but I know for a fact I am picking the Steelers to beat the 49ers week 1. And then their first 4 games, they play San Francisco, which I just said I think will be an upset. Then they play the Browns, the Raiders, and the Texans. So I think right off the bat, they could potentially be 4-0 going to play against Baltimore. And then I think Baltimore beats them. But again, you start 4-1, and then all of a sudden it's like, I think they can beat the Browns. I think they can hang with the Ravens and the Bengals. And then it's just one of those things where their strength of schedule, I really think is going to play into it. And then when we were just talking about the Browns, I don't think the Browns have a good enough offense to be in these games. I think the Steelers, obviously the Browns have
that's
Chubb,
fine, but I can't see
the
Steelers going past the Ravens or the Bengals.
Well, I do think they finished 3rd in this division because I think the Bengals and Ravens are both.
And you said this. You say that this team. Okay, Really? Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
I
So
see. I'm picking
do you
3
think the
teams.
AFC North is better than the AFC East?
Yes,
No, you're fucking
because
insane, buddy. You're
I think
insane.
no, because I think the Bills are going
You're
to fall off.
absolutely no, you're absolutely
We will
insane.
see. We will see. I
You're
think
insane.
potentially the AFC North has 3 playoff teams. 3. But let's
You're
go back
insane.
to let's potentially
I didn't
I
even
am
need
insane.
this. I didn't even need this towel because that was not spicy at all. That was just dumb.
How dare you? First
That
off, and okay, this is fucking insane. We just talked about how the Steelers are projected at 8.5. What do you think the projected win total is for the Cleveland Browns?
6.5.
9.5. On what fucking planet is this Browns team a 9.5 win? Not just team, but 9.5 bet.
No,
Like
no.
that's under by a fucking mile. Ugh.
Yeah.
But now let's go to I think the Ravens are probably the team most interesting to talk about. So let's save them for last. Let's talk about the Bengals here, Casino. Last year they finished 12-4. This year they have the 20th easiest strength of schedule, so not an easy schedule at all. However, last year they were 5th in total defense, which is crazy because I feel like people really underestimate how fucking good that Bengals defense is. But they were 16th against the pass, 5th against the run, 10th against scoring, and then their offense 8th in the league in total offense, 7th in passing, 29th in rushing offense, and then 6th in scoring. So how worried are you that since Joe Burrow's been injured, there's really been no news coming out about him? And all his teammates have also kind of been very hush-hush.
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, from everything they've told us, from everything that I've heard from the media that I've read up on, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Like, again, he's a passive quarterback. Or a pocket quarterback. He doesn't like to leave. He's got the best receiving core in the league. You know, he doesn't need to really, in my opinion, worry about it. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to be fine.
So as of 1 day ago, as I was just looking up anything on his injury, when Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, was asked about Burrow, he said he will be back at practice. He will be back at practice to be ready for week 1, jokingly saying he will only get 1 rep. But then he said that Burrow's been looking great, and yeah, he said he's been looking much better than he was in practice last year, even after coming back from the injury. So I think it will be very telling if Joe Burrow is out there week 1. But I also, if there is any question of if there's an injury or not, I don't think he should start week 1, right? Because the Bengals last season they started 0-2 and it was like the sky is falling. And then they finished 12-4. They lost 2 games the rest of the season and were one fucking weird, wonky call against the Chiefs to potentially going back to the Super Bowl. So I think the Super Bowl window is closing for the Bengals because if you look at their contracts, all their big players are up for a contract basically within the next year or 2. So,
and that's fine. No, I agree with you on that. I agree with you that their window is closing, but
yeah,
I don't think that it's been a failure. Yeah, I know you have been
no, I don't
one.
think so either.
You've had a string of bad luck, but you're going against a new dynasty. Right there on the borderline dynasty. If they win again this year, you call it that. But against the Chiefs, like that's if the Chiefs weren't in their way, they would have already had a Super Bowl. I know that they went.
That's not true because they had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. They got beat by the Rams. Remember in that Super Bowl,
right? No, and that's fair. They had their chance, but if the Chiefs weren't there, they would have been in the Super Bowl probably the last 3 years.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I am much more interested. Let's say I'm wrong and the Bills are as good as they have been the past couple years. I feel like I would much rather see a Bills Bengals AFC Championship game than I would rather see a Chiefs Bengals or a Chiefs Bills AFC Championship game, because then it's the notion that, like, oh, one of these teams that has never won a Super Bowl, and obviously the Bengals got pretty close, but those two teams, two of the best teams in the AFC, are closer to winning a championship than Kansas City is, because I already have Kansas City fatigue. Like, forget them beating my team, but they've also been in the AFC Championship 5 years in a row. It's like they've been to 3 Super Bowls. It's like, and plus, I think the Bills and Bengals are as fun to watch as Kansas City, and much closer than people act like they are, because most of those games end 24-21. It's not like, all those years where the Buffalo Bills were getting to the Super Bowl and then all those Super Bowls were fucking blowouts. Like, these are all teams that are within a field goal of each other, but we act like Kansas City is, this much higher team, but it's like they're just getting calls and the luck, which is what it takes to have a dynasty, right? I mean, there's a lot.
Well,
There was
again,
a
we've
lot
talked
of
about
luck
it.
in that fucking Patriots dynasty.
Patrick Mahomes is Roger Goodell's like golden child.
Well, new golden child. Well, he's the league's golden child. I mean, we talked about it last week.
No. New golden child. If you're trying to refer to Brady, no, never. He hates Brady with a passion.
Yeah.
So,
or I always felt like Peyton Manning was the league's golden child, but Tom Brady just kept beating him.
Yes.
Right? Like, and he's still kind of the golden child.
Peyton Manning is still the golden child. Peyton Manning is the love of Roger Goodell.
Yeah. And because the second he retired, they were like, hey, what if you just did Monday Night Football with your brother? And then he's still in it, and he's still in every fucking commercial. But yeah, I feel so when it comes to the Bengals this year, Casino, they're over and under. Obviously, last year, what the crazy thing is, well, the crazy thing is last year, I was just saying this when you walked away, they started 0-2. They finished 12-4. So they literally only lost 2 games after the first 2 weeks the entire season, until obviously in the playoffs, where again, that fucking wonky ass penalty basically took them out the same way the Eagles got taken out in the Super Bowl. No, I'm not still bitter about it. 11.5 wins, Casino. Over or under? Over.
I'm over. You're gonna say under because of the Joe Burrow thing, aren't you?
Yeah,
aren't you?
Well, I think they're a 10 or 11 win team. I think
you have the Ravens winning this division, don't you?
I do. I think the Ravens are, because I mean, we'll talk about them next, but I think the Bengals are second in this division. However, of all the AFC teams, I think now this Bengals team specifically, with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all them, I think they are my favorite AFC team. And if my Eagles were out of it, I would be rooting for this team to win the Super Bowl. So even though I have a lot of faith and hope in the Steelers, that's just from looking at it. I don't like the Steelers. I'm not a fan of the Steelers. I really feel like I like this Bengals team, and I'm a fan of the Bengals.
I'm at this point, any team can win the Super Bowl as long as it's not the Chiefs or the Jets.
You would be okay if the Dolphins won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow. That's growth, Casino, because I remember for a long time you fucking hated the Dolphins.
Oh, I do hate the Dolphins, but I mean, if it stops,
Kansas City.
I mean, if it stops Kansas City or the Jets from winning the Super Bowl, I'd be okay with it.
You know what? We should do a preseason before the season starts bet. Who do you think has more playoff teams come out of it? The AFC East or the AFC North? Just playoff teams have to come out of that division, not win any games or anything.
I'll have to look at it.
Okay. Because I think I'm siding with the AFC North. I think you're siding with the East. This is a north side, east side.
And you know what? And you know what? I think I might agree with you on that. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean that I think the AFC North is a better team than the AFC division.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that just the AFC division is a harder division. Is the hardest division in football. But could I see the AFC North getting more teams in just because of strength of schedule, just because how things are going to lay out for them? Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about the AFC North and AFC East is I feel like the top 3 teams are stacked, and then it really comes down to who do you think is a better team right now, the Browns or the Patriots? And
Patriots.
I think I might side with the Patriots as well, but then
They
when I
because
see that
their offensive might be the same, but Patriots have the better defense. Bill
but
Belichick's got a top. They're ranking Patriots defense top 4 right now.
yeah, so then maybe on a technicality, I think the AFC East might be better, but like you said, they're
No, I win now. You fucked up.
well,
You
no, but I'm
no no no
saying
no no. You rules are rules. You can't go back. I win. You lose.
but then
I win.
again,
You lose. Nope. I
actually,
win.
you know
You
what?
lose. Nope. No. Fuck it. You've already said it on air. You're not
No,
editing this.
I stick with it
Don't.
because I really
No.
think Buffalo
No. You've
falls off
already
this year.
changed it. You've
I
already
don't
changed
trust
it.
Buffalo.
You've
I
already
don't trust
changed it.
Buffalo.
You've already changed it.
That's not true. It's
You
not
did.
true.
You broke down
But so you're saying the over under for the Bengals, you think they're a 12-win team again, or you think they
easily.
go higher?
I think they're a 12-win team because I don't think Burrow's foot is as bad as you said it is, or his calf.
Yeah. I think it will be really telling if he starts week 1. I don't think he needs to start week 1 because I feel like you would rather go 0-1, but your quarterback's healthy than start the season 1-0.
You just said it. You just said it that they 0-2, right? You said that they
Yeah.
started 0-2. The Patriots, multiple years that they won the Super Bowl, 0-2. I'm fine with teams coming out of the gate, losing their first 2, and then
Yeah.
learning and then hitting the road or hitting the ground going. So and not just my team. The Bengals did it last year. They absolutely crushed it. They lost 2 games after their first 2. Like this team's good and they're going to be good. And I think everybody's looking way too much into it. They're trying to just find something to talk about Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They want something to talk about. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I think that's why
No,
I'm
you
picking the
don't. You
Steelers.
don't agree. You don't agree
No,
with me.
I'm saying with first 2 weeks of the season. That's why I think Patriots beat Eagles, Steelers beat 49ers, but I think that's just because the first couple weeks everybody's just kind of feeling themselves out and maybe the better teams are slow to start, to kind of get ready for the longer season, right? Because we always see like the playoff teams, everybody thinks like, "Oh man, this playoff team, this Super Bowl contender is going to come up and light them up." And then remember last year it was the Rams and the Buffalo Bills where it was like this could be a preview of the Super Bowl, and then the Buffalo Bills just blew the fucking doors off the Rams. So I really do feel like it's that kind of first 2-3 week things where it's like really good teams and really bad teams are much closer than I think anybody think they would be. So that's why I think, and I don't think they're going to be bad teams, but that's why I think Steelers beat 49ers, and I'm potentially mulling over my reaction to the Patriots upsetting the Eagles. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's talk about the last team in this division, the Baltimore Ravens, who last season finished 10-7, being led by Pro Bowler. Oh, fuck. I already forgot his name. The Ravens backup. What was his name? The guy who went to the Pro Bowl, the quarterback, Tyler Huntley.
Huntley.
Led by Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, they were 10-7. This year, they have the 21st easiest strength of schedule. It means they have one of the hardest. Not as hard as I thought they would, though, but I digress. They have a new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken from Georgia, after helping Georgia win back-to-back national championships. Their defense last year, fucking lights out. Total defense was third, 26 against the pass, but they were third in both scoring defense and rushing defense. However, their offense obviously struggled, even though they had Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. 19th in total offense, 28th in passing, second in rushing, and third in scoring offense. So, Casino, as you have alluded to, I think the Ravens are potentially the 13-win team this season. What your thoughts?
If Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, because I don't trust Huntley coming in. Come on now. But we'll see how Odell Beckham does. We'll see how Zay Flowers does. I do like this Ravens team. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're definitely the second best team. I don't have them beating the Bengals. I think the Bengals are just too hot right now. As you alluded to, though,
they're hot right
getting
now.
They're getting towards the end of their run as a super team, just with contracts coming up and whatnot. But I still have them edging the Ravens, but I like what the Ravens have been doing. I like how strong they still have the best kicker in the game all day, every day. I do like Marlon Humphrey, their cornerback. I think he's a solid player. I like what they have. They have a really solid team this year. And in my opinion, Mark Andrews is arguably been, the best tight end in the last 5 years. I do know that, you have Kelsey, who's number one probably. And, you got all those other really good tight ends, but Andrews just always so consistent. I think this is going to be a really good team. And especially if, Lamar comes back and he really hits the ground running, literally and figuratively, where, he makes that offense open up. And they got the new weapons coming in with wide receiving. I think this could be a really good team. I think it's really special. I don't think they have enough to beat the Bengals, but I do think that what's their over-under?
They're over at under, I was just looking at it, 10.5.
It's over.
I feel like I'm taking that over all day.
I think it's over. I think the Bengals probably make 12-13, and then I do think that this is an 11-win team pretty comfortably.
There's no way in fuck you look at this Ravens team and what they did last year without Lamar Jackson, and then obviously they added people like Odell and Zay Flowers, and then they have Andrews, and they have a top 3 defense. There's no way in fuck you look at this team and go, oh, the over-under for this team, definitely 10.5. And then you look at the Cleveland Browns and go, this is a 9.5 win team. The projection for Cleveland is 10 wins. The projection for Baltimore is 11 wins. No fucking way, man. I really feel like this Ravens team is minimum 12 wins, potentially 13, 14. I just think they are stacked. You look at with the return of Lamar Jackson, obviously from injury, and then the weird offseason with the contract and all that kind of shit. You bring in all they did in free agency. They got rid of Marcus Peters. They got rid of Justin Houston. So then they brought in 2 cornerbacks, Rakyas Sin. Dude, these fucking names are impossible. Trayvon Mullen. And then they brought in Odell Beckham Jr. and both of our former favorite players on our team, Nelson Aguilar. So they bring in, I know he was your favorite wide receiver when he was on the Patriots.
Oh, yeah. He was the best. My absolute favorite. He was phenomenal. I raved about him every second of the day.
But see, the thing is, I feel like with Odell Beckham and then Nelson Aguilar, I feel like they already have weapons, and then they added Zay Flowers. So they already have a pretty good offense. And then they added literally 3 more wide receivers. You get Lamar Jackson back. And again, this team was 10-7 last year with the 28th ranked pass offense in the league. So it's like, are we presuming that they're not going to be a better passing offense when all they did in the offseason, including re-sign Lamar Jackson, was just tailor-make their offense to be a passing offense? And then you brought back arguably the best running back on their team is their quarterback. So you have Lamar Jackson, you have J.K. Dobbins, you have Gus the Bus Edwards, because I play Madden, so he's Gus the Bus. And then you have, just elite talent on offense.
Agree.
You have a top
Totally.
3 defense. And then, like you said, Justin Tucker wins the Ravens, 2 games a year? I feel like the Ravens always get in the opposite of shootouts, where they get into field goal kicking shootouts where Justin Tucker has to make fucking 5 field goals and they win the game, 12-7? I feel like they play that game twice a year. So, that's why I really think this division goes Ravens 1 as a 13-14 win team, Bengals 2 as an 11-12 win game, and then I think the Steelers come in as a 10-win team. I just think that's how it goes out. And then the Browns, I'm betting, I obviously don't bet because I'm terrible at it, but if I did bet, it'd be under all fucking day for the Browns projection. And I think they're, again, an 8-win team, 9-win team if they play their very best football. I just think this is that was a lot, but Casino stepped away for a second. And then when we talk about coaches in this league, obviously we talk about Zach Taylor. We just mentioned his name with the Bengals. I think he's a good to great coach, but I really think Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, I think they are just the tops. And then the Browns have Stefanski, who is clearly the worst coach in this division.
Clearly. Like I said, you got institutions with Tomlin and Harbaugh. So, I mean, institution. They themselves are just amazing.
I do think it's weird this year how people are putting so much faith in the Browns, the Lions, and the Jets. 3 organizations that for our entire lives have been unmitigated fucking dumpster fires with very few flashes of being even competent, let alone good. So it's really weird that Browns, Jets, and Lions are 2 of those 3 teams people have potentially going to the Super Bowl. I'm already starting to see Jets Super Bowl hype and Lions NFC Championship hype. I'm already starting to see it, Casino. But that is all we have today. This was a good one because the last couple NFL previews we've done nothing but agree. I feel like this was our most contentious. I cannot wait until we talk about the AFC East because I feel like you and I will vastly differ in our opinions of the AFC East. But
no, I don't. Well, I think it comes out to we'll talk about it. You just don't have the Bills. You have the Jets.
Do you want to talk about the NFC East and AFC East on Friday, or you want to? Yeah. Okay. So on Friday we will do both the NFC East, AFC East, and then next week on Tuesday we'll do NFC West, and then on Friday next week we'll do AFC West, and then it becomes September 4th, and we're 3 days away from the start of football. So we'll obviously make our predictions. I think you and I off air will talk about how we're going to do the fantasy week to week thing because I have some ideas. But other than that, Casino, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. You got anything to say, or can we close this bit?
We can close it on up. Sorry, you've been a great filler today with my absent-mindedness.
I really had to stretch. But I'm getting a massage after this, so
I know a guy.
I've avoided hand-mouth foot disease, but mono, it's still up in the air. So I'm going to go get mono. Casino's going to go take care of his children. And this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. We'll see you on Friday. Hopefully undiseased, but no promises.